A new year has arrived. What's your resolution for 2024? How about making sure the roof over your head is well taken care of? RiverLand Roofing is here for all your roofing needs. Whether it's an inspection, a new roof, or a maintenance program, RiverLand Roofing has you covered home or business to give you peace of mind in the new year. As a GAF Master Elite contractor, they can offer warranties that last a lifetime. RiverLand Roofing is licensed and insured to service Mississippi and its surrounding states. So give RiverLand Roofing a call today and make sure you and yours are protected all year round. Call RiverLand Roofing at 662-644-4297. That's 662-644-4297. Visit them online at riverlandroofing.com, riverlandroofing.com. It's RiverLand Roofing for all of your roofing needs, a proud sponsor of the Talk of Champions podcast network. Welcome into the Flagship on this January 23rd, 2024. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit, been on Twitter. I write for the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, an affiliate of On 3. In this edition of the Flagship, as always, brought to you by RiverLand Roofing. For all of your roofing needs, it's RiverLand Roofing, and David Eckert from the Clarion-Ledger, the Jackson Clarion-Ledger covering Ole Miss, is with me again. Hello, friend.
How you doing, Ben?
I'm in between moving to a new office. You know, I haven't even painted the walls. I don't even have the door on its hinges. I have my PlayStation controllers up in the windowsill, but we're here. You know, we found a way to come together and talk about some Ole Miss things. How are you? What's the map behind you? Is that just the United States? Is that all I'm looking at?
Yeah. So what it has, and it's cheesy, but it's one of those like travel maps,
Ooh.
right? And
Okay.
what I do is when I cover a game at a place, I get a pin for the map.
I love that. I love that. It's like a vision board, except, you know, like my grandmother taught me a long time ago, whenever you take a picture, put a date on it. All right. And I always used to think that was stupid. Right. But now, as my kids get older and I document almost everything, the date is important. I'm like, dang, she was right. So this is brilliant because I started collecting my, my media passes, but those can become a little burdensome. You know what I mean?
Oh, brother.
Yeah. I like the idea of pins where I've been. Yeah. Oh man, I love that. I might get that for my new office. See, because I need some ideas for my wall space. Right?
Yep.
What are you doing?
Some recommendations.
What are you working on right now, Ole Miss wise? What are you most paying attention to right now at this very minute?
Oh God. I'm trying to figure out whether the basketball team is good or not. Because I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Aside from that, working on some behind the scenes stuff. Now is the time of year where you can like look at the athletic department as a whole, that type of thing. So, and, I'm sure we're going to have 75 transfer portal commitments this week because they have that every week. So, what about you? What are you thinking about right now?
I'm honestly thinking about right now, as far as Ole Miss sports are concerned, the transfer portal. That's all I've been getting questions about from both fans and also I've had Ole Miss, administrators texting this morning like, hey, what are you hearing on the Washington offensive lineman transfers, which is really like their last glaring need is offensive line and left guard specifically. And Nate Kelpo is one of the two Washington offensive linemen on campus that would address their biggest need. But I'm looking at the roster as currently constructed and looking ahead to the spring and also what's coming up next for Ole Miss football. And while they've entered this new stage of the offseason, where it's the offseason strength and conditioning program and the lead up to the spring into spring practices, what's fascinating is while the calendar flips, they're still adding, they won't stop adding. So that's what I'm paying most close attention to because this is a year-round process now.
Yeah. Yep. It's legitimately anyone who has any part of their job description figuring out logistics of how this works. I would quit instantaneously. I would no longer be employed in that capacity because it's just, I can't imagine anything more exhausting. It's crazy.
So. Who is your favorite or who are you most looking forward to covering and writing about as far as upside transfers that Ole Miss has added? Is there any player in particular that you're like, oh, that's from your experience because you were there every step of the way and every single thing as Ole Miss went 111 games, I should say, for the first time in program history last year, including the Peach Bowl, beating up on Penn State. So when you look at what they brought in, knowing what they're returning, is there for you a missing piece or pieces that they've added that really turned your head and made you go, okay, wait a second. That's, from my experience, what they
Right.
needed. You know what I
Right.
mean? Is
Yeah.
there anything like that for you?
Can I say Diego Pounds because I love his name?
It's a great
Is that
name.
it? Yeah,
Great name.
that's just. But
It's a great name. And it
uh,
fills a need. Offensive line, we
sure,
talked about it, you know.
sure, exactly. But no, I think obviously like the slam dunk answer is Walter Nolan, right? So I won't even talk about him because we know. Uh, I think my inclination is to say Princely Umanmielen. I think just because look they were less so as the year went on, but generally I would say a good pass rush under Pete Golding last year, right? I think they finished top 20 in sacks, had some success. Okay, so now you've added, and they're still adding. I think probably expecting some news there relatively soon. Um, but now you've added elite SEC pedigree, all SEC pedigree, elite athleticism to the system that has already succeeded. I think it's fair to say without that, I mean, we like Cedric Johnson, but you know, I'll take Princely Amon Ellen if you're asking me. So I want to see how that ability and that athleticism translates into that structure that succeeded last season.
Princely was the number one edge in the portal, the number 6 overall player in the portal. And Ole Miss has taken some hits. Tyler Barron flipped to Louisville, despite the fact that on Sunday he was moving into a house in Oxford. And then he ends up going to Louisville anyway to join his former Tennessee teammate, Tamarion McDonald, and also his brother, who's a Louisville Cardinal and committed as well. But Ole Miss continues to make up for those losses by not slowing down at all. Taz Nicholson wasn't going to be able to arrive. The Illinois transfer cornerback wasn't going to be able to arrive until the summer. And so they essentially cut him loose. He's gone to Louisville as well. You replace him with Amarion Walker from Michigan, a cornerback with freakish athletic traits. You replace others with a Trey Amos, a cornerback out of Alabama, and he's in both of which could step in essentially and replace DeAndre Prince and Zamari Walton. So now I'm looking ahead to the spring, and those are players I think almost prioritized that, and that's why you saw them make decisions with guys like Tamarion McDonald and Taz Nicholson. Ideally, they'd have kept Tamarion. Taz, the minute he couldn't come in for the spring, you cut him loose. I'm looking at spring football and what they need to try to accomplish. And the first thing that pops to mind with all these new transfers is how it all comes together naturally, right?
Right.
But are we framing it the wrong way? Because when I look at Ole Miss, yes, we want to talk about all the new, but really where Ole Miss starts and where it'll start in spring once we start covering, get out there on the practice fields, is with all the returning talent, as it mixes in, what that looks like in year 2, in my opinion. That's more
Yeah.
important than anything.
No, for sure. I mean, they are bringing back, the pillars of the team aside from Quinshon Judkins that just won 11 games for the first time in program history. You know what I mean? So obviously, right, that matters. It's right. They aside from Quinshon Judkins, and that's a big, that's a big caveat. They were able to add elite pieces without having them go in the other direction. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be I think at wide receiver in particular, there's going to be some interesting hierarchy stuff that has to take place, just to see, who the top guys are at some of these positions where they have all this returning talent and they've added on top of it. But yeah, I'm with you. I want to see how this mixes with, the core of the team that just had one of the best seasons in program history for sure.
What do you think about the openings on Lane Kiffin's staff currently, tight ends coach and wide receivers coach? Um, Derek Nix leaves to become the offensive coordinator at Auburn because, of course, he did. Of course, he did. And if no one understands what I mean when I say that, Hugh Freeze is, of course, at Auburn. And a long held joke on this podcast, and in most every Ole Miss corner of the internet, message boards, you name it, is Freeze has learned nothing. One of which is he has not expanded his contact list all that well. And after year 1 at Auburn, immediately rolls and begs Derek, even though we don't know if he's going to have play calling duties or not. Either way, it's a promotion for Derek, entitled, and he deserves it. I'm thrilled for Derek, but for Ole Miss, a wide receivers coach, a tight ends coach, now you're looking to replace Two valuable pieces of your staff. What do you think about those positions that Ole Miss might need, and what are you just hearing in general about Ole Miss's approach or Lane Kiffin's approach to finalizing his staff?
I think the wide receivers opening is really interesting just because, again, like the talent in that room is unbelievable, right? It's an opportunity to make a splash hire, because who doesn't want to come coach that, right? If you're not signing up to coach, Trey Harris, Jordan Watkins, Juice Wells, and Deion Smith, like along with the younger guys who have impressed us, I mean, come on. So that makes that interesting to me. Aside from that, yeah, I think it's important. Again, you have the potential at that position, I think, for some guys who are used to getting the ball all the time to maybe not get the ball all the time just because of the talent that you have, right? So I think you need a key figure in that spot who can come in and manage that. So that to me is really what I'm thinking about when it comes to filling those staff. Ben, I'm going to be honest with you. I am sure that you know more than me about who they're targeting. Like you are the message board guy. So
Well,
I will
yes.
ask you, what are you hearing about those position groups? Because I'm sure that you are more informed than I am.
I disagree. You're the old school newspaper man. You're the breaking news reporter. You're that guy. I just live in rumors. I'm the TMZ dumbass that's sitting here in his half baked office with mismatching paint on the walls. But I will say, I think Joe Cox is the leader in the clubhouse. He was Alabama's tight ends coach last year to be the tight ends coach. I'm curious to see if Ole Miss goes the direction with wide receivers coach of Kelvin Bolden, promoting him, like something we've talked about on this podcast for the last couple of weeks, because Football Scoop reports a month ago that Kelvin's being
Yeah,
promoted once John David Baker leaves to become the offensive coordinator at East Carolina, that Kelvin's being promoted to tight ends coach. That has not happened yet. Now, he is a former wide receiver, is Kelvin
right.
Bolden.
Sure.
Played at Southern Miss,
Yes, he
coached
did.
wide receivers at Florida, coached wide receivers as an assistant at other places as well. It's kind of escaping me at the moment, but he's done this before, and he has a standing offer right now to be a wide receivers coach somewhere else. So I'm curious if they use this opportunity um, to get Kelvin Bolden on the field, give him his well overdue and earned promotion,
Right.
and then go and fill out the rest of the staff with a guy like Joe Cox, who would be a home run hire for what it is, which is tight ends coach. So that's what I'm hearing right now. But with Lane Kiffin, who knows? I think,
Yeah,
yeah, with
impossible.
the number one thing is for both of those spots, at least one for me needs to have some continuity to it, only because it's going so well. Derek was such a big part too of what they do in state. So if you can get Kelvin in there for, especially to keep things shored up in state, even though Pete's one of the best in the country in Mississippi, you get what I'm saying? Like there are some
Yeah,
considerations in that way. At the end of the day, Lane Kiffin's going to do what he wants, but that's kind of where I'm at. I'm thinking if they can just maintain some consistency, because I know what Derek meant to this program,
sure.
recruiting this state specifically for 16 years. And that's going to be a group effort to replace, that part of it. So there are some other things to consider with these jobs as well, I guess.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would like, I think Kelvin Bolden would work. I think that's a that would work. I think, again, talking about some of the things that I just mentioned, right? He knows all these guys. These guys respect him. And I think that's important at that position group next season based on, again, what it looks like they're going to have to kind of do on paper. So yeah, I think he'd be a good choice.
The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
But you brought it up at the top of the show, deciding whether or not this basketball team is good. Now, it's an oversimplification. They are a competitive team. They're a postseason contender, but now they've fallen back in the pack. They are now a bubble team in comparison to solidly in, because they can't win on the road. They lost both games last week at LSU and then got whipped at Auburn. Why is it that they look very different on the road? They can't score. The defense isn't the same. Just what's the overall assessment of this team for you? And do you still have confidence that they're going to be able to, right the ship figured out enough to finish it off and get in the NCAA tournament?
I think, really concerned about their defense, Ben. And I think a lot of the headlines and a lot of what Chris Beard was asked about against or after Auburn focused on the 59 in the Ole Miss column. But I think what that missed is that was not a game that had a lot of possessions. Is 59 a good outcome? No. But to me, allowing 82 points in a low possession game that had a slow pace is a really, really terrible outcome. I went through and I looked. The Tennessee game, they gave up 1.3 points per possession, which just, it's for those people who don't use that number, it just takes pace out of the consideration, right? And then against Auburn, they gave up 1.24. And those are two of the six worst defensive performances that Chris Beard's teams have had as a Power 5 coach. So this is wildly uncharacteristic for teams that Chris Beard has coached.
Oh man,
and it's a problem. So, and again, not only are they not getting stops, Ben, they're not rebounding them when they do. So it's
see, that's my problem.
Yeah.
You roster 2 7-footers, one of which is the tallest player in college basketball. Right. But height does not equal rebounds. I understand that. There's a physicality to it. And even at 7'5", Jamarion Sharp is more finesse than physicality. Musa Cisse, I've been kind of surprised by his inconsistency with rebounding. Their leading rebounder is Allen Flanagan, who's a wing, a transfer guard from Auburn, and Allen struggled offensively lately. I absolutely agree with everything you're saying. But as I've been telling people, in every walk of life, throughout my walk in life the last couple of days, you're like, man, I was fired up. Now I'm worried about Ole Miss basketball. This is the worst team Chris Beard's going to have.
Sure.
And they've already won 15 games. It's not even February. They won 15 games, and they're going to be a bubble team. If I had told you before the beginning of the year that's where they would be at this point, you would 100% take it. And actually, you'd probably be like, man, it's really hard to do, even for a coach as good as Chris Beard in year one, considering where they were. So I agree with you. They're not – we wanted them to be a little better maybe than they were, specifically as it pertains to defensive viability. What has been proven is that they are a really competitive team. They can beat pretty much anybody when they're playing up to their max ability and potential. However, on a game-to-game, night-to-night basis, they're pretty middle of the road. But that's okay. Middle of the road can make the tournament and has real upside with transfers. But remember, as you go about this first-year journey with Chris Beard, this is the worst team he's going to have. You know what I mean? And they're already better than, I would argue, all 5 teams, even the NCAA tournament team that Kermit had. And I love nothing but love for Kermit. And a lot of those dudes that played, TD, and, but this team would probably beat that tournament team for Ole Miss, got waxed by Oklahoma by 30 in the first round. That thing was over in like a minute and a half. I was there. I was like, oh, well, that was the NCAA tournament. Neat. Right? I'm simply saying this team is going to be fine. But I do think there is something in the SEC with the best basketball conference, if not the best, one of the best easily in college basketball. It's going to be a year where nobody can win on the road.
Yeah. Look, it's hard. And Ben, how do you win on the road usually when you do? You play great defense. Guess what Ole Miss really can't do is play great defense. So, or has not shown. I shouldn't say can't. They might improve. But
I don't know, man. Aren't they in the 300s right now in KenPom in defenses?
I don't know if it's quite that bad, but it ain't good.
It ain't good.
It's not good.
All I know is one of the key defensive stats is in the 300s. Again, we didn't prepare when we did this podcast. I just said, hey,
might
David,
be defensive rebounding.
That's it.
I think that's what you're thinking of.
Well, it goes back to the original point. You have a roster of 2 7-footers and you can't rebound.
But I think you're seeing whether it's tactical stuff happening from the offenses that they're playing against, or just their perimeter defense getting beaten off the dribble. I think what's happening is those guys are being pulled away from the rim a lot. And I think that's why they in particular are not getting the number of offensive rebounds that you'd like to see.
Schematically, that's a good point. Schematically, yeah, they're 7-footers, but philosophically, Chris Beard utilizes positionless basketball. He wants even his 7-foot centers to guard 1 through 5 if they have to switch and do that. That's just philosophically how he goes about constructing a roster. So they're not traditional 7-footers back to the basket. I understand that, but the fact that you're in the 300s in defensive rebounding,
absolutely,
with 2 7-footers, it just doesn't make any sense on paper. It makes no sense. Last thing, and I'll let you go. Ole Miss baseball is around the corner. 1, will you be going to Hawaii in February for the 4-game series? And 2, what do you think about Ole Miss baseball as we get ready to start the year again?
I will not be going to Hawaii. Very upsetting. I will be watching the opener at 10:30 local time or whatever that's going to be. That's disgusting.
I disagree. Baseball at 10:30, waking up with brunch and baseball.
No. The other way. The other way.
Oh, I'm bad at math. I was told there would be no math. Never mind.
But yeah, I actually, I'm ashamed to admit this as a Pennsylvanian, but I could not. I was supposed to have an interview with Mike Bianco last week that I could not attend because of the snow. And this hurt my pride as a man who prides himself on being able to drive in the snow and having experience having done so.
My whole thing is, why couldn't Mike have just done a phoner with you then?
I mean, he could have. It's not Mike's fault.
You want to talk to me, David? You better shrek your ass up here. You know? Put on your snow boots. Walk across Molly Bar. You know, what are we doing? What are we doing?
My fault, not his.
It's more fun if Mike is paying attention to this, which he's not. But if he is, and he goes, "Wait a second, I didn't have anything to do with that, Ben. I need to come on your podcast and set the record straight. I don't want people to be bad." He's so super serious. You know,
that's precisely why I'm playing defense against people thinking that, just in case.
Yeah,
but
I'm not. Hey, I say, like, hey, Mike, if you're listening, you could have just picked up the phone, call the man. You know, you're the one. You're the one that's got the nice cushy office. He's sitting there like pinning where he's been visiting behind him on a map. You know, like, what the hell are we? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Baseball.
Yeah, I have no idea whether or not they're going to be good. They're obviously incredibly rebuilt. I think obviously you have concerns about their pitching staff based on the lack of, I think, sexy additions there, given what they went through last year. You're counting on 2 freshmen to really grow, I think, from what it looks like. You know, I like the transfers that they added. They're going to hit the ball, it looks like. I hope it'll be more fun if they do. But yeah, just looking at it from 10,000 feet, I think the question mark is, you know, are they going to pitch well enough to win SEC games?
Here's my question. If you had to predict right now whether you and I are going to be enjoying some Jello shots in Omaha in however many months' time between now and June. Again, I'm told there would be no math. If you had to predict whether or not that would happen, where are you right now? Because last year sucked. Ole Miss doesn't do well with this. I know you're a Pennsylvanian.
Sure.
You know, but you're the Clarion-Ledger guy. You're the Ole Miss Clarion-Ledger beat reporter. You understand Ole Miss baseball matters here. All right.
Absolutely. I covered Southern Miss before that, so I get it. You know.
Oh, by the way, I was in your old neck of the woods all weekend. I got through. I drove the Jeep, put it in 4-wheel drive, got out of New Albany and Oxford where it was. And then once you hit Fulton, there's like nothing, or Meridian, there was like nothing. Yeah. So we get down to Hattiesburg because my oldest daughter, Gracie, I'm old, 11 years old. She was in state honor choir in Hattiesburg at Southern Miss. I had never been on campus at Southern Miss ever. It was they were practicing right beside the rock. And I almost texted you immediately like, "Hey, Eck, so this is where the magic happened. Oh, you know, charming little place." The best part of it was Gracie kicked ass, but you know, Southern Miss was fine too. I'm going to be honest with you. I left and went, I think I like that more than State. I'm sorry, State fans.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Goodness. Oh, no.
You got me.
I loved Hattiesburg, but yeah, you won't find any arguments between Hattiesburg and Starkville for me. But
oh, so you're not gonna jump in that deep end with me. You're not gonna take that plunge of, hey guys, Hattiesburg and USC is a better campus than State.
That I was agreeing with you.
I thought you were gonna do it. Like, I'm not gonna say that because you know that like my mentions are about to blow up probably, but no, okay, all right.
There are like 7 State fans that follow me. It's fine.
And for the 70 that follow me, I prefer the Rock. No, I'm playing. Not really. Anyway, he's David Eckert. He covers Ole Miss for the Jackson Clarion-Ledger. Follow him on Twitter at, what's the mention or Twitter handle?
David Eckert 98. Yeah.
What is the 9? Is that when you were born?
Yeah, we did this last time. Remember?
We did this last time. Yeah.
Yeah. You're so old that you don't.
How old am I? Yeah. You're so old. When Moses crossed the Red Sea, you're on the other side fishing. I'm so old. All right. He's David Eckert, the Jackson Clarion-Ledger. Thank you at David Eckert 98 on Twitter. Read his stuff in the Clarion-Ledger. You're the man. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Hey, next year or in 6 months' time, we're gonna put a pin in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh wow! How about a super regional in Nashville?
How about a regional? How about a regional in like East Carolina?
I would honestly love that.
I would think it was great.
Inject that into my veins.
Yeah.
Do they sell East Carolina pins? I don't know.
I'm saying it'd be awesome. Like the hunt for the pin would be the most fun thing, most rewarding thing. He's David Eckert. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. See ya.
How'd you think? See, it's easy.